Friday, March 15. This is the news on PBCJ. I am Simone Absalom. Opposition leader Dr. Peter Phillips has lambasted the government as inept and corrupt. Making his contribution to the 2019-2020 budget debate on Thursday, Dr. Phillips singled out what he termed as the numerous scandals that have plagued the government, including at the state-run oil refinery, Petrojam.
It started before year one had been completed with the bushing scandal. Then there was the police used car scandal, the firearm licensing scandal, the $17 million welcome sign, the missing funds at Duns Rivers Fall, the misuse of funds at the Student Bureau. You know, Mr. Speaker, I ask myself all the while, why is only the scandal bag that them ban? Them should ban the whole bag of scandal.
In his contribution, the opposition leader outlined a mix of old and new measures. This included land titling reform.
The next PNP administration will, through a combination of legislative changes and administrative innovation, launch the most comprehensive program to address the plight of the landless in Jamaica.
Dr. Phillips also stumped on the lack of rural development.
For us on this side, a fundamental weakness of the budget that has been presented is the failure to recognize that the rebuilding of the rural economy must be a critical cornerstone of any inclusive model of economic growth. It is also a pathway to wealth creation for rural families. The collapse of export agriculture, and in particular sugar, and the failure to modernize domestic agriculture has left the majority of Jamaicans who live in rural Jamaica facing poverty and has opened the doors for the proliferation of crime.
Starting today, the Ministry of Industry, Commerce, Agriculture and Fisheries says it will be providing assistance to factory workers at the Money Musk Sugar Estate in Clarendon in the wake of the current closure of the factory. The ministry, in a release, said the payment is in keeping with a commitment made to workers by Portfolio Minister Audley Shaw at a stakeholder meeting held at the estate in Nile Town on February 15. At the February meeting, Shaw explained to the workers that in addition to providing $200 million for the transportation of sugarcane from the Money Musk area to the processing factories at Worthy Park in St. Catherine and Appleton in St. Elizabeth, the government was also providing a total of $100 million to assist the factory workers and their families. According to the ministry, a cash grant program of approximately $30 million is at the top of the assistance package and is to be provided directly to some 260 displaced workers who were employed at the factory. Shaw said the one-off grant program was being provided even as the government was working assiduously to select the best investor to operate the factory. Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark has rubbished claims by his opposition counterpart, Mark Golding, that the government's budget will benefit only the rich and will see a few benefit trickling down to the poor. Mr. Golding made the claim during his budget presentation Tuesday. Dr. Clark says the budget makes a lot of provisions for social spending. He's describing the opposition's criticism as hype. Dr. Clark says the opposition spokesman on finance is out of touch with the aspirations of ordinary Jamaicans. He says the budget is favorable to public sector workers and all Jamaicans. Opposition leader Dr. Peter Phillips has called for Prime Minister Andrew Holness to immediately extend zones of special operations in the affected areas amid concerns about the uptick in crime in sections of the island. He's also recommending changes to the Jamaica Defence Force Act. In his contribution to the 2019-2020 budget debate on Thursday, Dr. Phillips said the act could be amended to give more power to the Army. Zozos have only been used in Mount Salem, St. James, and Denhamtown, Kingston.
Why is the administration not using the Zozo more in the affected areas, not just in St. James, but in Clarendon, Westmoreland, other parts of the corporate area? Why not? Mr. Speaker, Zozo provides for deployment of joint security forces, police and soldiers together on the ground. It gives the security forces the same powers of a state of emergency to detain suspects, search and cordon, etc. The only additional power of that the state of emergency provides is the ability to detain indefinitely without recourse to the courts. And we contend that this is a step too far. It creates animosity and division between the security forces and community, but also it infringes upon the rights of the citizen. Prime Minister, expand the Zozos immediately.
Additionally, he said a more effective crime plan is needed. Jamaica Public Service Company, JPS, has refinanced the $180 million in debt, or roughly half of its borrowings, arising from a deal brokered by Sagicor Investments in February. Nearly two-thirds of the funding, which converts to more than $22 billion in local currency, was in the form of Jamaican currency and US dollar denominated bonds, while US $66 million was in the form of syndicated loans raised through Sagicor Bank Jamaica. The police have advised that several traffic changes will be implemented to facilitate the staging of Buju Banton's Long Walk to Freedom concert on Saturday at the National Stadium in St. Andrew. According to an advisory from the Constabulary's Corporate Communications Unit, the following roads will be affected before the event: Mountain View and Deanery Road. The road closure at this location will be in effect to facilitate the easy movement of shuttle buses, taking patrons from the National Hero Circle to the National Stadium. Mountain View Avenue and Arthur Wint. There will be limited access to authorized patrons at this location, and shuttle buses will be allowed to exit. People attending the Bustamante Children's Hospital and residents will be able to have access to Stanton Terrace and Roosevelt, as well as Latham Avenue and Old Hope Road. Limited access will be granted to VIPs and business operators. However, Latham Avenue will be closed to the general public. North Avenue will be closed to the general motoring public. Limited access will be granted to residents of Swallowfield. Tom Redcombe Arthur Wint Drive, people will be going to Bustamante's Children's Hospital and residents will be given access. Shuttle buses and VIPs will also have limited access, but the area will be closed to the general motoring public. CCU said off-site parking will be facilitated at the National Heroes Park via 3 entrances. The eastern entry will admit VIPs, general admission and shuttle buses, whilst northern and western entries will admit holders of grandstand and bleachers tickets. Plans are in place to set up a third logistics warehouse at the Kingston Wharves this year, with a little over $1 billion. Port company Kingston Wharves Limited says the warehouse will cater to companies trading within the Caribbean. In 2017 and 2018, Kingston Wharves opened 2 new logistics facilities. Its global automotive logistics facility, which regionally distributes cars, and its total logistics facility, which distributes pallet-sized cargo. The existing warehouses both have strong occupancy, with, according to Kingston Wharves Chairman Jeffrey Hall, prominent clientele. Kingston Wharves, whose stock trades on the Jamaica Stock Exchange, reported positive performance for 2018. The port company earned $7.25 billion in revenue and a 19% spike in net profit to $1.97 billion, or $1.36 per share. The U.S. dollar on Thursday ended trading at $125.29, down by 47 cents. According to the Bank of Jamaica's daily foreign exchange trading, the Canadian dollar ended trading at $94.21, up from Jamaican $93.64, while the British pound sterling ended trading at Jamaican $164.33, down from Jamaican $164.46. In regional news, the Antigua and Barbuda government has lashed out at what it said was a misleading claim by President of the Antigua and Barbuda Cruise Tourism Association, Nathan Dundas, that Carnival Cruise Lines has cancelled several scheduled calls to the Caribbean nation and there would be a massive fallout. In a statement issued late Tuesday, Minister of Tourism and Investment Charles Fernandez accused Dundas of scaremongering and causing unnecessary fear among cruise stakeholders. Dundas had told the local media that without explanation, Carnival Cruise Lines dropped Antigua and Barbuda from the itinerary of its Carnival Breeze, Carnival Magic, Carnival Legend, and Carnival Pride cruise ships, which were scheduled to sail to the Twin Islands nation for the 2019-2020 winter season. Dundas, a local shipping agent, had also warned of more cancellations. But Fernandez said his comments were deceptive. In sports, Excelsior have regained the Issa Grace Shield Under-19 title after dethroning Innswood by a massive 305 runs on Thursday, last day of their three-day final at the Melbourne Oval. Innswood, who resumed the final 9-1, chasing on improbable 546 for victory, were dismissed for 240. And that's the news on PBCJ. I'm Simone Absalom. Pleasant viewing.